Okay, hi guys. Here I am, Korkornowski, Yankee T News, enjoying my coffee, and waiting for Jason. Jason's going to be a little late. Yep, the man is very busy, I tell you. Maybe he'll tell us more war stories about his work someday. But tonight, I'd like to start by putting up, there's a couple of things I'm going to burrow down on, but I want to start with what's going to be my highlights for the evening here. You might like to know about that. That's what I'm going to be talking about for a while. So I'm just going to read it off. Britain in the shadows. Yeah. That would be the city of London. To all you, which I say, globalist conspiracy nuts, such as myself, that's got some meat on the bone there. Economic fury spreads. We missed some comments that Scott Bessent, our Treasury Secretary, made the other day that should concern all the bad actors. And the latest news is that we have attacks in Tehran going on. And meantime, the situation in Belfast continues to degrade. Yes. Now we have videos of men all masked up in black, letting the British elites know that they are done. They are done. So it's going to turn into a messy, I don't know if I want to call it a civil war, but no, there's going to be, it certainly looks like there's going to be armed conflict on the streets, starting in Belfast and probably spreading from there. So then I want to talk about the Connecticut real estate trends, since I live in Connecticut. Now, kind of related to economic fury and Britain in the shadows, there is the globalist wrestling match that continues. This is, it's an update, okay? You have the Atlantic Council, you have the Council on Foreign Relations, you have this interesting new group I'd never heard of before called the British American Interparliamentary Group. And that is a more influential group than we realize. SpaceX, oh yes. The big news is about all the people who've been turned into millionaires in one day. Don't know how long that'll last. But I was listening to this guy, I think his name was Steve Yates, and he really hammered it home. He made it very clear that this move with SpaceX is very much in America's interest and in the long term. So it's like first mover advantage on controlling outer space. So if you're not familiar with the concept, sometimes when you have a new industry, the first one to market, called the first mover, is the one who benefits. They get all the customers, they get the best business deals, and they own the market going forward. Now, there are cases where the first mover can lose that position for a variety of reasons. I could talk about the innovator's dilemma, I guess. Maybe I'll do that. And then nearly 700 ballots for Spencer Pratt found in dumpster. So again, if you've been following that at all, Spencer Pratt may have lost the primary, but he is not done, not by a long shot. So, let me start with Britain in the shadow. And Jason will be along here eventually. Okay, so let me just see if there's something here I'm not seeing. Bear with me a minute. I can work with that. Hopefully you can see that pretty clearly. Yeah, I want to watch for any comments. Hoping DJ Ricky's going to check in, or JJ, CJ, JK. Britain in the shadows. I have been shocked to learn that despite appearances, at the very least indirectly, Iran and Britain, through the city of London, work together very closely. The bridge that joins them is the Muslim Brotherhood. And I am gobsmacked at this. The allegation is that the city of London, all right, first of all, the allegation is that the city of London engages in illicit underground activity for two purposes: to make money and to exert political clout. Okay, it occurs to me that they're not the only player in that game. We have people who point to Britain, maybe because they've been the longest running actor in this. If we go back to what happened, what was the term? When the opium in China back in the 1800s, early 1800s. And they've continued to do that because it's an effective way to corrupt governments. So they've continued to pursue this. Okay. Now, it's that they're involved in trafficking, in drugs, that they're supporting drug cartels. If drug cartels needed any supporting, I have to admit, still comes as a shock to me. And I just, but anyway, I wanted to share it with you. If you haven't thought about this, it's probably time to start thinking about it. And one of the things, when you have Britain, quote, in the shadows, you have to look at what's going on with Ukraine and Russia. Now, I've had a long-running debate with my friend Wilm about Britain's, shall I say, attitude towards Russia. There's been a long-standing hostility, especially, or what's the word I'm looking for? Not so much hostility. It'll occur to me later. In any event, so Wilm kept insisting on this, and when I did my homework on it, it turns out that if you go back to Queen Victoria, and she and Prince Albert had some very bad experiences with the Russians back then, which had turned her off to the Russians ever since. And yeah, guess what? Her opinion translated into, it's the term I'm looking for, translated into British foreign policy. How odd is that? But that's what would have happened. So she really set the stage. And the problem I'm seeing is that in the fullness of time, as Russia advanced, geopolitically, militarily, Britain became ever more determined to, quote, neutralize Russia as much as possible. However, now I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. This attitude, apparently, that Britain has had towards Russia, the animus, that's the word I'm looking for, the animus that Britain has had towards Russia, has come from Britain's own form of manifest destiny. They think of themselves as a, quote, powerful, influential nation. They feel they understand the world better than others do. And in that understanding, they decided that if there's ever going to be a coordinated global enterprise, we're going to have to get Russia out of the way, is essentially their position. If you accept the idea that Britain expects to be able to achieve this kind of control, it starts to explain their conduct towards Russia over the last 40 or 50 years, and especially during the Ukraine-Russia conflict. If I accept that, doesn't make it right. But we've also seen Britain try to act like a whining child and expecting America to do Britain's dirty work in this regard. And the pressure is on to not do that. Now, recently, there was a meeting between Zelensky, Macron, Merz, and Starmer in London. And I think it's the same problem again. On the one hand, they're trying to figure out how they're going to work together militarily, economically, politically. And there's a shared belief that they need to put themselves in a condition of perpetual war against Russia. Okay, for Russia, this becomes a problem because of the way we've seen them, how they function. But this puts a different spin on it, if I may share this with you. We're used to seeing Russia as the aggressor. Russia has characterized itself as the victim and being on the defensive in some respect. Well, pause. What if that's true? If we accept the idea that Britain has this long-term plan of overcoming Russia, doesn't that put Russia on the defensive? I'm just saying. But that said, Russia has been its own worst enemy, as far as I'm concerned, in their conduct. So they have, I'm sorry, they have no one else to blame but themselves. And they're squandering their resources in the process. Will it come to the point now where they can't do this anymore? Well, I think my take is that they can get away with this for a while more. But the problem is that Ukraine, with help from the West, is getting better and better at compromising Russia's ability to fight. So the kind of rear actions on logistic chains has been exactly the kind of thing that has disabled Russia's ability to mount an offense. The other thing is that they're constantly nipping Russian advances in the bud. I mean, you really have no choice. This kind of military whack-a-mole is the only thing you really can do under the circumstances, and it's worked very well. And in exchange for that, what does Russia do? They keep throwing young Russian men into the meat grinder. It's incredible. I mean, I read these stories. The rate, okay, of Russian losses on the front, I don't see how you can keep doing it. I don't understand how a military would continue to do that. Now, understood, when you look at the history of military conflict with Russia, the times when they have been successful is when they've just had to use a mass of manpower to overcome the enemy. It happened in the second fight in Finland, happened in the push against the Germans. And so they have a tendency to believe that that's the way to go. But, you know, it's a new world, it's a new day, and there are other factors that you have to consider in how war is prosecuted. Okay, all our eyes are on what's happening with drones, and that's significant. But there are other technologies coming to play that are rewriting the rule book for how you prosecute a war. And I think this stuff about Ukraine actually having a robot infantry that captured some Russians is going to be the first in a long line of events that we're going to hear about in the coming months, all not good news for the Russians. So in the meantime, you have Britain still in the shadows, doing everything they can to push it, but don't leave out the CIA. I want to remind my dear audience, yes, it was the Ukrainian defense minister who said about 2 years ago, he publicly thanked the CIA and said if it wasn't for the CIA, they would have lost to Russia a long time ago. So that's a story that needs to be told and hasn't been told. But if someone wants my opinion, it is very clear that the CIA, if they're the ones responsible for this, have prosecuted this conflict against Russia brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly. The kinds of strikes, the defensive strategies, the fallback work they do, and the other things they've come up with, and the kinds of attacks they do, and you put it all together. Again, at least I can't help but be impressed. All right. And I think you'll be hard-pressed to come up with any example, any model, anywhere else in military history that worked anything like that. If some military historians know better, tell me immediately, please. Anyway, I just want to touch, all right, next thing I want to get into here is economic fury. The United Arab Emirates is sort of a wild card almost. On the one hand, they're supposed to be on our side. But on the other hand, they seem to keep making gestures towards Iran. And our Treasury Secretary has to keep reminding them, no, there is no advantage, nothing to be gained by trying to make nice with the nut jobs in Tehran. Nothing. So, nonetheless, there continue to be all manner of attacks, but I have to apologize. This is kind of scattershot in the way I'm handling this. Now, when I argue with Jason about this, there have been, what I look for here, there have been a number of cases where we've had attacks by what I call the bug boats, But now the story is the bug boats have stayed in port. They have not been coming out because the consequences do not end well for them. And with that, their ability to launch various strikes off of these boats has evaporated. So what does that leave you with? Okay, not much. So they've tried to launch some drones from the shore, but that hasn't worked very well. And the other story I like to tell, that President Trump alluded to, was how, and I mentioned this last night, was how, what was it? 22 ships, 22 Iranian oil freighters loaded up, had attempted to, quote, run the Strait of Hormuz with their transponders off, with their radar off, no running lights. I just radio silence. Okay, they were doing everything they could to sneak past the Americans. And as the story goes, it didn't work. All 22 Iranian freighters were turned back. And then there was a case of one, I guess it wasn't listening. And I don't know if it's part of the same group, but there's yet another story about the Americans, launching yet another missile, yet another Iranian freighter, and knocking out the engine room. Seems to be a standard operating procedure. So yeah, you look at what the Iranians are doing, and you're saying, well, they're testing the limits, but they're not really making as much progress as they would like to make. So where does this leave them? Again, like I've been saying with Jason, I think that what we're doing amounts to a boa constrictor strategy in the ability of the IRGC to respond is slowly getting weaker, just like if an animal is being choked by a boa constrictor. With each turn of the muscles in the snake, it gets harder for them to breathe, harder for the economy to function, and the next thing you know, bad things start to happen to the economy. So, we're in new territory here. This is stuff I can't think of any case like this where we were poised militarily, but we were engaging in a level of economic constriction. That would be the term, economic constriction, that continues to weaken a country. And you just wonder, well, is there a place where something has to happen right now? So again, since I feel like I'm in uncharted waters here with a subject like this, I have to engage in, conjecture. So the conjecture becomes what events will unfold as the Iranian government weakens, as the military weakens, as the economy weakens. By contrast, those people in the street, so to speak, who are dissatisfied would become eventually emboldened, all right? And I would like to believe that as the Iranian government is being weakened, more is being done to arm and train. Okay, here he is, arm and train those who want to be resistance fighters. Okay, Jason.
Hello, we made it.
Yeah, let's see, what time is that? 9:21. Not bad.
And I have about 40 minutes, so that works out okay.
So how are your spirits?
Not bad. It's been a hectic day. The day before vacation always is.
Yeah.
And we got real busy today too, which didn't help.
But it's good for business.
It's good for business. It's just not good for the day before vacation.
Yeah.
But that's all right. So what are we talking about over here?
Well, you can see the list, the highlights.
Britain in the shadows, economic fury. Oh, we're talking about Iran, of course. Attacks in Tehran. I heard that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, these are all the different topics. Okay, what are we on right now?
Well, I'm still kind of battling with what's going on with Iran. The way I want to put this is that
nothing good.
There's only so much information that we have. We realize that there's stuff going on in the background, but we can see clearly, among other things, is that the Iranian economy is slowly being choked to death. And it occurs to me, I can't think of any historic example where we've done anything like this, or any country for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this raises the question, given a strategy like this, what's the outcome? What's going to happen? Are you going to have mass starvation? Are people going to riot in the streets because of a loss of something? I'm not sure what. Okay, is it, are we going to see the military do strange things as they lose their ability to fight? I just, there are just so many, to me, unknowns in terms of events that can develop, and conceptually, any one of these events could also trigger yet other events that actually lead to the collapse of the IRGC. But I say the term collapse of the IRGC very loosely because they're going to fight. They're not giving up. We talked
They're
about
not going to give up. It's a religious matter, and they're not going to give up no matter what. Their Allah has told them to fight, and that's it.
Okay, but so if they have less and less to fight with, then what are they going to do? Okay,
right.
Fine. They'll keep fighting, but what?
But their impact will be greatly reduced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so
they won't have a state behind them. Eventually, there'll be a situation where they don't have a state sponsor behind them, and they're always going to be these people to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But getting them out of power, not having them in control of a major nation on the world would be good.
So as I try to play this out in my mind, I'm going to go back to a comment last night, courtesy of Mr. Rickards, who had suggested that any successful military adventure in Iran would require America to put 600,000 troops on the ground. That
I don't agree with that.
Sorry?
I don't agree with that.
Well, I don't either. I find myself saying
maybe he makes that guess, that estimate based on no help from anybody else.
Well, not only that, I think he's also not examining his assumptions in a statement like that, because if it was a normal invasion, okay, and you had like if we were invading Germany in World War II, okay, they had tons of resources and they were in fighting form, all right, when we went after them. I don't think Iran is in such fighting form.
No, I don't either.
All right,
but the Germans were fighting for. Really, were the German Nazi soldiers fighting for an ideology, or they're just pretty much following orders?
Well,
it's a different mindset, I think.
I mean, my sense is that they were fighting for the Fuhrer, right? But they were also fighting for the fatherland.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no limit to what they felt they had to do in order to survive.
No, but I think that it was a secular thing. So I think that when it comes to surrendering and giving up, I think when you have a sort of a God religious type of thing behind it, they're much less likely to surrender or give up than I think than if you're just fighting for the Fuhrer.
Well, I have to say, I've got this picture in my mind that they're just going to, if they're reduced to throwing rocks at us, that's what it's going to be.
Oh, they'll do whatever they can.
Yes.
The ones that are the hardliners, we refer to them as the hardliners.
Yes, the young fools.
So they're not going to give up. They'll be killed first. They'll keep going.
Okay. So again, I'm still trying to put together a sensible picture here. They have to maintain some kind of integrity for their government to be a government going forward. Now, we are told that they continue to use couriers rather than use, say, cell phones or any form of electronic communication because they know that they would be tracked.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, all right, that would be enough to, yes, so can they continue to fund, or let me put it another way. We have an idea of where they are. Let's say it's in the greater Tehran area, because the other thing is there's got to be a limit to the kind of courier style communication that can go on. They can't carry messages 200 miles away back and forth and expect to function as a government.
Oh, there's the carrier pigeon.
Well, even then, You know what? And how much information is a carrier pigeon going to carry?
We're beyond the day of the Game of Thrones, aren't we?
Yeah, no. This is. They are. I believe they're in a tight spot, and there comes a point. So again, the other point I'm trying to make is that we are watching them so damn closely. All right, we have so many people who are on the ground, running around, watching everybody, tracking what's going on. And every so often, we've been getting lucky, right? And finding some leader to kill, he gets killed. All right. So how far can they push that? All right. So that's a pressure. Okay, that's a pressure pushing against the Iranian government. Mm-hmm. Now, if we add a real military intervention to that pressure on them, at some point, they're going to have to have an escape plan.
Yeah, right.
Well,
mountains.
Yeah, the mountains. But then the problem is,
some big ones there.
If they have to run an escape, their chance of being detected becomes a whole lot better.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so they're taking a huge risk, but they may not have a choice. So, again, from our point of view, from the American military point of view, you're going to have to be able to answer the question, how are we going to manage social chaos when we flush the bastards out and try to get them before they get to the mountains, so to speak? How are we going to manage this? Checkpoints, leaflets, incentives, psyops. I just don't know.
So we could take them from three sides: the perfect storm against them, the pressure, our military pressure from their own citizens, and then the economic pressure. That's the three-pronged attack.
It would seem, okay, and all the while they're having trouble communicating. So, all right, what can I say? Okay, so that's that. I think in my mind, that's where this sits right now.
Mm-hmm.
There will have to be a point in time where the mullahs are going to have to decide to cut and run. Is that 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now? I don't know. But if we keep putting this kind of pressure on them, they can't stay in the same place that they're in. The circle around them is tightening.
Right.
So that's
it. I don't understand why we didn't do this 6 weeks earlier, but I'm glad it's happening now.
Right. Okay.
But then Trump's on TV talking about a deal, so I think it's just lip service.
Oh, yeah. The BS continues, because what happens?
They're flying J.D. Vance in this time.
All right. This is a version of crying wolf too much. The problem here is, instead of crying wolf, you're crying peace, but it's never peace. There's no wolf, there's no peace. But you keep claiming there's peace. And I'm
going to submit this one thing. Anything that Iran puts in ink on paper for a signing of a deal is just not to be taken. I don't think it should be taken seriously.
Of course. Well, I think so. Again, in my mind, how long will it take for the people who make up our financial markets realize that this information is of no value to them in order to price oil or any other commodity, or how the economy is going to change as a function of the decisions being made by Donald Trump? When does it occur to them that this is irrelevant, useless information?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's just an open question. And on that happy note, let's go on to Belfast.
Yeah, we don't talk about that much. Ireland.
Yeah, I saw what I call a holy shit video.
So I was right about it being Northern Ireland.
Yes, that's right. So here was the video, man. It was like, wait, are these Antifa terrorists? Are these Islamic terrorists? Who am I looking at here? Because it shows this guy sitting at a desk, and there in the background there seems to be, I guess, an Irish flag, and he's flanked by two guys. Their faces covered. They're dressed in black. They're holding rifles. Or machine guns, and he's sitting there reading a statement to the elites, warning them, we have had it. Now, I don't know about you, but I think this may be a first. This is a sign that some number of people have reached a breaking limit. And guess what? That means there are a whole bunch of others. So if these guys,
Throughout Europe, hopefully.
yeah, these guys, well, we'll take Ireland first. These guys are going to embolden so many others. They're going to form an underground group. And believe me, the police will be in no position to do anything about this.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be an ugly mess.
With a good outcome, get the Islamic influence out of that country.
Yes. So the elites are faced with a choice they obviously don't want to make. But if I was in Keir Starmer's position under these circumstances, if I had a lick of sense in my head, there's only one answer. You give in to their demands and you make serious efforts to get rid of the illegals in the country.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only answer, because you have people who have what's the term? Unimpeachable demands? No,
they're unarguable demands.
We're not. There's nothing here to discuss. This is.
And you know what? The Northern Irish people are badasses too. They don't fart around, man. They'll kick your butt, man. They're not going to let their country get overrun.
Yeah, well, it's called Here It Comes. So that video, I think, the attack by the Sudanese marked one moment. Now this video, these guys who are dressed up for action, marks the next moment. And if I have to say it. Shit is going to hit the fan very soon. Mm-hmm. Very soon. I don't see, there's nothing to make them turn away from it. Nothing is reducing the tension. Nothing. Okay. So they're just going to have to keep going because they can't take it anymore. Anyway, so let me I'm going to have to pull this down for a minute and put up, let's see, this one.
That's got to get real estate trend.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So what we see here, that big green line up there.
That's Hartford.
Nope.
Oh, it's Bridgeport.
I believe that is, where's Fairfield? It's supposed to be Fairfield. What happened to Fairfield, guys?
I don't see Fairfield.
All right, it's not there. They were talking about Fairfield in the article. Okay, well, let's just go with this. This color.
Well, Bridgeport is Bridgeport's probably Fairfield.
Okay, so then let's see here. I mean, it's very weird. I mean, it doesn't make any sense that Bridgeport.
What is this? The average home price?
This has got to be Hartford. This top line here.
Well, it's not according to the key. It's not. Not according to the key. It's not.
Well, there are two. I mean, thanks to them, they've goofed up the color scheme. So let's just do the process of elimination. Red, the United States of America. That blue line, Torrington, we can see that's down in the grouping there. Norwich, that orange line, we can see that. The light orange, that's New Haven, we can see that. Okay. Mm-hmm. So now we're down to these two. So one line is darker than the other. All right. And I mean, it doesn't make any sense because this color should match. It looks like it's matching Bridgeport.
Yeah, that's Bridgeport. Well, it would make sense because Bridgeport is Fairfield County, and Fairfield County is where Greenwich is, and that's where the prices are so high. So it makes sense that those are higher than the other prices.
Okay, well then I don't know why they're putting in Bridgeport.
I don't know why it says Bridgeport. It should say Fairfield. Norwich should say London.
Okay, so so all right. So I think we've got this squared away. This is Fairfield County, ladies and gentlemen. No surprise that the price of houses is so much higher than the rest. Now, when you average it all together, so I think this serves a purpose here. It shows how averages are misleading because you have a whole bunch of housing prices that are in the mid 300s, and then you got this one that's at 567,000. And if you're talking about Fairfield County, you're talking about almost a third of the population in the state. Fairfield County is very heavily populated. Between and Stanford.
You also see a massive increase starting with right around the time of the COVID hit.
That's correct. Right. Now, it would be, all right, so let's just put this one away for the moment. I'll bring up the other one here. So this is Connecticut income. Now this one is kind of odd. Remember, I guess you weren't there for it. When DJ Ricky was on, I kept carrying on about, it'll occur to me, kept carrying on about an organization called Brownstone Institute. The head of it, a guy named Jeffrey Tucker, had just completed his own economic study of what has happened to ordinary income since 2019. And his message was that buying power, I mean, if you talk to if you're taking the line that's being given you to by, quote, mainstream economists, buying power from 2019 to the present has declined by about 20%. He said, no. When you look at the numbers correctly, for the average member of the middle class, buying power since 2019 has declined by 50%.
Mm.
That's a lot.
Well, I'm an exception to the rule because my buying power has probably increased by 50% since 2015.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you had the amount of money you've earned.
Well, I started a business, so.
Okay, but you have to look at it in terms of inflation. How much is that dollar worth?
Mm-hmm.
Because, there's what is called real and nominal dollars, right? So nominal is inflated dollars. Real dollars are adjusted for inflation. I don't think
my situation is different because, by starting my own business, my income increased by 100%. So it just kind of overrode the inflation trends.
All right. It may have overrode it. All right. So if the value of the dollar has decreased 50%, but your income has increased 100%, yes, you're doing better, but not as well as you think. That's the argument.
Right. Not as well as you think. Right. And most people don't get 100% increases either.
Okay. So the problem here is that if we look at this, so I'm calling bullshit on this chart, by the way. This is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
If I could only draw on this, but if we, let's see here, you can see the year markers on the bottom, right? 2020, yeah. 2018. All right, so we want to go in the middle of 2019, all right? And if we were to just add 2022, 2024, the point that Jeffrey Tucker was making is that the decline in the value of people's income has been so great that this purple line here would actually dip down into the red line, the orange line. It would be that bad.
Wow.
Okay. But that's not what they're showing here. That's not what they're talking about. So they make you think that, this is still not good. Okay. The median income trend is essentially flat, even as you adjust for inflation. So nobody's making any progress. Nobody's gaining any ground economically. It's flat for them. And so let's go back to the housing chart again. Where did you go? Let's get you out of here. Okay. Has this remained flat?
No.
Okay. There's the problem. All right. And so we were looking at 2018, and you can see going from there, and with 2020 as the kicker, there's been this profound increase in home values. Now, if you go back in time from, it's over a longer period of time, though. Let's just say 2003 to 2006. You could see that there was a comparable increase in housing values. But it's worth noting, I guess, when the housing bubble broke, 2008 or so, look at that, or at least Fairfield County was hit very badly, but these other sections of Connecticut, not so much.
281 to 212 is pretty heavy.
The curve is less. So yes, but here we are back in this problem, and there's no. It's, if you look at it, it just looks like it's beginning to flatten. All right, just beginning to flatten, maybe.
I hope so.
But that's to 2022.
Look at the average median price for the Bridgeport area, though, $567,000. That's incredible.
Yeah. So the problem is this data is only good until 2022. We saw another burst in housing prices from 2022 to 2023. And even after that, housing prices were still rising. So if I was going to run this out, I'll stick with the Fairfield chart. It would be, or let me try it this way. I'm going to stick with this bunched group here. Here, I got to use my calculator for this.
What are you averaging out?
All right, so I'm going to take, I mean, this is really a funky way to do this, but forgive me. See if it, because I know that the median house price in Connecticut is about $450,000. So I want to see if this is going to bear out here. 5, 6, 7 plus
20. Fairfield County is almost 25% more expensive than the rest of the state.
Divide by 2.
But that would make sense.
That's bizarre. Okay, so if you take 350 as sort of an average, and a little high, but we're trying to take, it comes out to 450. My calculation 458, but that's 458 for 2022. So there's some play in this, and I need better data is all I'm going to say. But no, it's very clear that housing prices have continued to go up, but let's go look at it again just because it's fun to do. It's fun to do. Come on, where are you? This has not grown so much. Okay. So the part that's a little hard to understand is how come housing prices have shot up as much as they have.
This chart is also outdated though, because I think there's been some income increases since 2022.
Yeah, but it's not going to be significant, I mean, at best, okay, at best, if you go back to 2010.
Well, there's going to be a huge need for labor as all these factories are built and are opened up, and that's going to bring wages up as well.
Well, that's assuming they're being built in Connecticut.
Okay. There's not too many being built in Connecticut. I haven't seen one. I've all in the state.
It really, I mean, I'll give you 2 examples. Because new businesses are not coming to Connecticut, and I'm pretty sure that number is pretty damn close to 0. You had the media making a big deal out of a company that I think was sequestered in northwest Connecticut called Henkel, the chemical company.
Mm-hmm.
And then they moved to Stamford. And people going, ooh, wow, yeah, oh, hot damn. All they did was move from one part of the state to the other.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And in the news, we had a company, I forget the name of it, that moved its R&D facilities from one place to another in Connecticut. Hot damn, dude. No, dude, you need big buildings to be constructed right from scratch in Connecticut and hire more people if you're going to really see economic progress in the state. And in fact, what I think I should be doing, maybe next time, I'll have this done by tomorrow. I might. I don't know.
Do you have somebody coming on with you tomorrow night?
I have not lined anybody up, but I'll invite DJ Ricky again. Nobody's. I mean, this is very weird. Okay, so Wednesday night. All right, on my I don't understand how to evaluate this. There is this little thing here that looks like a counter. All right, on my screen.
Mm-hmm.
You have one on your screen?
I don't.
Okay.
But I'm not a subscriber yet.
All right. So somehow StreamYard is giving me a count on the number of people that are viewing us. And on my end, 2. Problem was last night it was around 65. The night before that, it was 85. Okay. And the question is, where did everybody go?
Oh, it's Friday night. They're all having a few cocktails.
Perhaps. Yeah. Okay. I mean, this kind of wild.
Viewership is traditionally in media is down on Fridays.
Okay.
I don't know about from 65 to 2, but it goes down traditionally on Fridays because people go out.
I don't know. Okay, so all of this.
The next topic on the thing we talked about.
Right. So let's go back to the highlights.
Yeah, let's go back to Globalist wrestling match continues.
Yes. Okay. So this is really inspired by this group called Promethean Action.
Bezos, right?
All right. So have you heard of Promethean? Have you ever heard of the Council on Foreign Relations?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. This would be the antithesis to the Council on Foreign Relations.
The Council on Isolation?
Yeah, right. No, the Council on Foreign Relations. So there are a couple of people who make that will get in front of the camera for this group called Promethean Action. Their main assertion is that to this very day, Britain continues to have an outsized negative influence on world affairs because they are still trying to control what happens in the world for their own purposes.
Mm-hmm.
The driving engine for this is what's called the City of London. Now, you understand that what's called the City of London is a 1 square mile block inside London proper, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have their own laws. They are basically independent of the British government. This thing misnomered as the City of London. I think this is where the 5 families, the Rothschilds and the others I can't think of right now.
Silvas, the Rockefellers.
Yeah, there are others. I can't think of their names, but
There's
they have.
There's an Asian family as well.
No, not in this group, but they could be there too. I mean,
they're there.
This is all for historical purposes. So you have these groups, and they have one of the key players to keep them in business is that you have people like Lloyd's of London, one of the largest international insurance companies in business. And so, they are accustomed to operating in the background, but this round case, more attention is brought to them because of all the questions over the dangers that oil freighters had in the Straits of Hormuz when Iran was going to attack them. Okay. So in other words, a company like Lloyd's of London would not want to insure these ships because the risk of their being sunk was just too great.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that said, the point is that Lloyd's of London is part of a community of insurance companies that have continued to support drug cartels, child trafficking, weapons trafficking, and other nasty things, all in the interest of advancing British foreign policy. So that's essentially the argument.
So is there any good left in the world, or are we just done?
Well, the problem...
everything is corrupted. Even the Red Cross is corrupted. I mean, everything is corrupted.
Yeah, in one way or another. Well, I think you have to think in terms of groups like these in the City of London as becoming drivers for this corruption. However, we have to keep in mind that when you have corruption, you've also got competition.
Mm-hmm.
The corruptors compete with each other.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to give you another example of corruption. Money laundering.
Take me out to the ball game.
Yeah. So money laundering. Okay. We are normally accustomed to thinking of banks as the primary bad actors when it comes to money laundering for drug money and weapons laundering and other things, right? Okay.
No, probably not.
They're not the only ones. And get ready for who is a prominent money launderer. Universities.
Oh boy. Yeah, Harvard. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And part of it is driven by the fact that you have a lot of countries where the parents want their children to get the best possible education. So they send them to England. They send them to America. Okay. A few might go to France, some Switzerland. But, their first choices get them into Oxford
or Eton.
Yeah. The University of London, there are others. All perfectly, they offer excellent education. Mm-hmm. So what happens? These people who are rich by illicit means take some of that money and they launder it through the university in the form of a donation, to fund a professor's chair, to open a new center, to fund research, whatever it happens to be. So, that is another dimension to corruption that I just had to throw in there. But so the point is, I'm still trying to get my hands around this. All right, So that's I'm talking about Britain in the shadows, but the globalist wrestling match is part of Britain in the shadows. All right, and I should have put them closer together on this list here.
SpaceX.
Yeah. Say what? So,
SpaceX.
Yes. Okay.
Went public yesterday, didn't they?
Today.
Yeah. Which is almost yesterday.
Well, I'll tell you, it hurt my stock choices, so I've had to retrench. The $75 billion in one shot is a lot of money, and it's in hindsight, I'm kicking myself. But what happens is the investors have to ask themselves, well, if we don't have the money, where are we going to get it from? We're going to have to sell other stock.
Mm-hmm.
So they decide that they're going to sell stock in related companies. And I'll give you two, Rocket Lab and what was ASTS? I forget what they stand for. Let me see here. I just want to find them. I'm so pissed off.
Maybe I'll just buy 40 shares of X with as an investment.
Well, if you can afford it, but no, I never chase
Put it on one thing.
I never chase an IPO. It is a bad idea. Okay. So AST Spacemobile, right? So it's another quote space company, and they both took a huge hit in the market because people were taking money out of these companies to put it into SpaceX.
Mm-hmm. So it's an offsetting thing, kind of.
Well, that's what it is.
So what's this? How do you think the X is willing to control space? I'd like to hear about that.
All right. Well, for example, they talk about these data centers from space. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there is an argument that when these things get rolling, they're actually going to be able to lower the unit cost for transactions. Right now, for OpenAI, for every token that you use, okay, and let's say that token that you use for a ChatGPT query costs $1, it costs the company $1.22.
Mm.
So they're losing 22 cents on each and every single transaction. And there are, that's right, millions upon millions, if not billions, of these transactions. Okay, so it's causing them to lose a lot of money.
Back to the old drawing board.
Well, see, there's an argument that this is what industries normally go through. You have this initial phase, and there are high upfront costs, high infrastructure costs, and you can't really make money on it. Unfortunately, what typically happens is those early investors lose a lot of money. Okay, so now you have a bubble that bursts. People are disappointed. They walk away. They declare the industry dead. But what remains in the industry, they continue to work on solving their problems. And they come around. They solve their problems. Now suddenly they're economically viable. Now they suddenly start making money. Okay? This is kind of the model that Amazon followed.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if you remember, but in the early days, all Amazon did was lose money. And I'm sitting around scratching my head going, well, how are you supposed to make money on a company that's losing money?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't see any point in investing in Amazon, certainly at the time. Yeah. So
what happened with Mr. Pratt? They found some ballots? I didn't hear about that yet.
Yep. Apparently, yeah. The report is that, the exact number was something like 655 ballots found in a dumpster that were for Mr. Pratt.
And if they found one, there's probably others.
Well, I said 655. Oh, you mean one
other
dump.
Packets, dumps somewhere. Yeah,
stands to reason. So the thing,
I guess my question about that is, what's going to be done? Is anybody going to do anything to not let this unfair election go through? Or is it just going to go through?
Well, let's just say it's at the moment it's too early, and I'm just going to say let's see what comes up in a week.
I guess what Pratt decides he wants to do as well.
Oh, well, Pratt has said he is just getting started.
Yeah.
No, so he's not giving up. No, sir. No, sir. And the problem for him, of course, is as he finds more and more examples of this. Oh, this was the quote. The quote from him was, I have found such compromising information on Karen Bass and this Nitya babe that when this comes out, they will both have to resign.
Wow. Well, bring it out.
Yeah. So
Why wait?
right. So speaking of why wait, and speaking of Los Angeles, I did send you this other article here. The title of the email was troubling. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it.
I've literally been working all day. No.
Okay. Well, the news item was that out of Los Angeles, there is a court case involving numerous allegations of child abuse. I don't know if they're directed against schools. I wish I'd saved the article. But there was a preliminary indication that over 80% of these charges these charges of a child abuse may turn out to be false. So I don't know if this is a function of a particular group in Los Angeles or some other development, but that got my attention. I said, wow. And I have to remind you, by the way, that back in the early 90s, was it, I think, there was this national panic, okay, over the allegation that child care centers were abusing children. Does this sound familiar at all?
Yeah, it sounds familiar. I happen to know of something of this that's going on in Connecticut that we're going to try to expose.
Right. Okay. That said, what I'm trying to say is you've got these historical examples that reflect something that really suggests the guilty parties are innocent. That's what I'm trying to get at. So in this particular case, it was a daycare center in Massachusetts.
Okay.
And what was happening was that you actually had like 5 and 6 year old children taking the witness stand and testifying. And what was happening was the prosecutor was taking, I guess, anatomically correct dolls and asking the children to describe what was done to them. The problem was that the way the questions were asked amounted to leading questions. And it wasn't until later that they realized that they were basically guiding the testimony of these children and giving what were essentially false reports. So ultimately, these people in this daycare center were found innocent, but not after just horrible, horrible public exposure and reactions. And oh my goodness. So
damaging.
Yes. So I just want to remind you about those. There was that. I should probably try and dig that up. And then what's happening now in LA, which is rather similar. So it's called Step Carefully. That's all I'm trying to say. Step carefully.
Absolutely.
Right.
So I am
fried and ready to be.
I am fried and ready to quit for tonight. Yes, sir. I am absolutely zombied out. It's been one heck of a day. I've been going at it since 6 o'clock this morning.
Okay, so your plan is, so exactly what time do you head for Vermont?
Tomorrow morning I'll be gone before 9, probably before 8 a.m.
Okay.
And I'll be gone until Saturday afternoon sometime.
Okay. So that's the story. So then
I'm going to be sunning it up by the cool lake. Yep. And I won't be completely idle. I'll be plotting and planning things for Common Sense News Entertainment. I'm sure I'll come back with a bunch of new ideas. So.
Okay. Well, I just know that I'm trying to solve the problem of how do we ask for money every time we go on the air.
Yes, and then also we're gonna I have Gabby when we come back is gonna come over here actually and work on the aesthetics for our show, so it has a little bit more of a
yeah. How's she gonna do that?
Well, we got to hook things up with my camera, so your voice is not coming across on my Facebook feed loud enough, so we got to fix that.
I see.
There's a bunch of stuff that technicians should do that we're going to do that makes us look more like a news network. That so are two old farts farting around. Yeah.
So are you saying that Gabby has the technical background to do this?
Yes, she does. And what she doesn't have, she knows how to get.
Okay. All right.
She's going to take the bull by the horns.
All right. I can go with that. Oh, wait.
Right, well,
hold on. Douglas, I'm upstairs.
our web guy.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll sign off here, and I got to go see what's going on downstairs.
All right. Well, everybody, it's good to have you once again. I'll be back in a week. Court, I'm sure you're going to keep the ball running. I'll be going to get DJ, Ricky, and a couple people on during the week this week.
Yeah. Wait. Hold
All
on.
right. Well, then for that said,
hey, hold on. You can't go yet.
can't go yet.
Can't go yet. Here you go.
Oh, there she is. She made it home.
Finally home. Actually, maybe when she gets sent to prison, I should send this to her.
She's saved. She is saved from the kindling up in Vermont.
Yeah. That'd be one nasty toxic fire like her. Okay. So.
All right, then. Good night, everybody.
All right.
Remember now,
All right.
Common Sense News Entertainment, the battle.